want to welcome you back to Thrive in the Word. We're so glad that you've decided to join us as we study through the Word of God. And before we get into the message today, I just want to say if you want to help us, just hit that like button and then hit the subscribe button, and it will give us a better standing with the YouTube people, and we would sure appreciate that. Also, you know, this what we present to you, we present free of charge, but it's not free. And so if you would like to get behind our ministry as we minister not only through these videos but around the world, go ahead and go to the website at the end of this video and hit the give button. And we would sure appreciate that. You would become a partner with us. Our partners hold a very special place in our hearts. And so if the Lord speaks to you and the Spirit of God says, give to this ministry, we sure would appreciate your obedience, and I know that God would, and it will bless you. Now, we're in 1 John, the 5th chapter, and we're in the closing verses of this wonderful teaching that John has been giving. Now, 1 John is written from the city of Ephesus. It's written to the people in Ephesus or in that locale. And so we don't really believe that 1 John or 2nd or John are really letters that were written and then transported or brought to a church like Paul's letters. But this was actually a teaching that John is giving to the church. And so we see here now in verse number 19, again, 1 John, the 5th chapter, verse number 19, and this is what it says, and again, I'm reading out of the New Living Translation. We know that we are children of God, and that the world around us is under the control of the evil one. You see, John is doing something here. He's talking about two different contrasts, two different worlds, if you'd like. He's saying that we are children of God. Some of the translation says that we are from God. Now, the word "from" there actually gives this the connotation that these are children that were begotten or that were born. And so, in the New Living Translation, he just comes right out and says it, or they'd come right out and say it. We are children of God. That's a fact. Now, the Apostle John uses a word here, and he says, we know. Now, this Greek word is the Greek word eido. And let me just say this to you. It's very important when you study the Bible that you get a grasp of the language that it's written in. Now, this word eido means to have a certainty, a knowledge that you are certain. And so John says, we know, in other words, we are certain, we know that we are children of God. This is something that you know in your heart. You know, I think back many times to that night back in 1970. I know that's a long time ago, but I was actually alive. But in 1970, I said, Jesus, be the Lord of my life. Now, I didn't become perfect then. I'm still not perfect. But I knew immediately when I got off my knees beside my bed, I knew immediately that something changed. I knew that I was in right relationship with God. And that's what John is talking about, having this certainty that you are in right relationship with God, having this certainty that you are his child. He has begotten you. He has fathered you. Do you understand how important these last words are? That as John shares these words to the people that are around him and to that area, John is saying, you know with certainty what God has done in your life. And you know what I believe? I believe that it's very important that we as believers go back to that time, go back to that certainty when we were certain that God was our Father and that He is taking care of us. You know, we live in a world that's very shaky. It always has been. But you know what? We as believers live with God as our Father. Now notice what John continues to say in verse number 19. He says, and that the world around us is under the control of the evil one. You see, there's two contrasts. There's us as believers. We are children of God. We know that God is taking care of us. But on the other side, the world, and the Greek word for world here again is the Greek word cosmos. It doesn't mean the physical planet. It means the world system. That the world is under the control of the evil one. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever been amazed at how evil the world is? Well, we really shouldn't be amazed. Why? Because it's under the control of the evil one. They are slaves to the evil one. I mean, the Apostle Paul made that very evident in his writings, that if you're not a believer, you're enslaved to the world. You're enslaved to the devil. You can't do anything but do his bidding, but doing what he wants you to do. And so we see here John giving us these two great contrasts. The people of God. God is our Father. He takes care of us. He watches over us. He gives us stability in a really shaky and uncertain world. We know that with certainty. But then on the other side, there are people who have not asked Jesus to be the Lord of their life. And you know what? They are under the control of the evil one. Now, if you said that to them, they would probably get offended. But how many of you know sometimes truth offends people? And that is the truth. If they are not born again, they are under the control of the evil one. The world is under the control of Satan himself. All that you see going on in the world, you know what? You can trace all of that back even through the human elements. You can trace it back to a spiritual warfare, to a spiritual being, and his name is Satan. He is the evil one. So I hope that this has helped you today. If you're born again, know with certainty that God is your Father. But also understand that everyone around you is under, that's not a believer, is under the control of the evil one. Now, until we speak to you again, our prayer for you is that God will bless you. We'll see you tomorrow.